Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Renaissance Room podcast. And I am just coming on to finish my line of thought initially, which is that entrepreneurship for Black people is merely a means of survival. There, I said it. No more myths about entrepreneurship as the gateway to freedom, as the gateway to Black excellence, right? It is not going to work in that way. It is not this very easy, common, gritty, hard work rewarded, right? All hustle, no luck type of endeavor, right? It is a very gruesome, right, work that typically involves some level of exploitation. And whether or not you want to admit it, there are going to be times where you're going to have to go against your integrity, right? You have a nonprofit and you're not making any money, right? You don't have any other means of income. So what do? You divvy in the grant money, right? It is not this thing of freedom that people make it out to be. Now, I have heard stories about, Black entrepreneurs doing things in a different way. And you know what that way is, right? A very feasible way. Okay. They go to college, right? They work their jobs. They do that for a very long time. They may start a business in a very lucrative industry, something that relies on, state services, governmental services, right? That type of work. And, something to where they're seeing patients or they're seeing, whatever, right? And then they scale and they sell, right? They scale and they sell. And so that's how they essentially amass their fortune. And then they go on to maybe invest in real estate or buy a property and rent it out or whatever. Very practical things. But ultimately, the foundation is there. And that's my entire point of having this conversation, right? The foundation is there. They are the individuals who went to college, all right, got business background, right? So whether they were married and one person's got an accounting degree or whatever the case may be, right? And then they scale and they do it that way. And so very practical, right? But the accounting piece, having the marriage piece, having community, having family, all these things that really go into what it takes, right? Depending on the industry, right? All these things that really led to these people to have a successful business and to be able to retire and have this sort of financial freedom are foundational hard things that many people are not willing to do. Not many people are willing to get married and stay married, right? Marry for the right reasons, all right? Marry because it's aligned, marry because it's God ordained. What I mean by God ordained, it makes sense. It's peaceful. It's not sorrowful, right? It's not full of strife. It's not craziness going on. It's not dysfunction. It's not chaotic. It's not toxic. It is love. Love is there. God is at the center, and the center being love because God is love. All right. That's not many people. All right. And not many people are willing to stay in their marriages, work it out, build something, build a life, right? Because I personally think in our culture, we have this really hyper, I don't want to say hyper vigilance, but we just have this ongoing thing where we're really, really youth obsessed. And so we're always encouraged to make very youthful, emotionally impulsive decisions. And so we don't really know what it is to kind of stay grounded in anything and actually build something and do it and stick with it, right? We don't know what that's like. We don't have that type of skill. So that's the other thing, right? And so entrepreneurship in a way that I think works for anybody really is this very long, thought out, tedious process that is very calculated, and it makes sense, not just creatively, right? Not just on the visuals, but on the back end, right? In regards to the finances as well. And there's a plan, right? Within American society, I think the best way to do entrepreneurship is to kind of get in and get out, right? I think if you stay in too long, you will burn out and you'll never be able to make back your returns, right? You'll never be able to make as much as you made at the beginning, right? And then I think if for most people, if you start a business anyway, depending on what the business is, right, it's not going to lead to this sense of financial prosperity, right? You're going to find yourself in a hard place, typically exploiting other people of your community, and you're going to find yourself justifying it, right? It is not on us as consumers. I don't care if we're Black, white, Hispanic, it don't matter, right? It's not on us to fund your lifestyle, right? That's not what we're here for. We're here to support the business. We're here to support the service that you're providing us, most importantly. And so service comes first in business, not Black, not white, not Hispanic, not Dominican, right? Service, period. And so if you're providing a service, if you have a coffee shop, you're providing a service and you got $12 lattes and you're going to tell me that the latte is $12 because you got to make sure you got cups in the back and you're black owned. No. Right? Doors are going to shut. People are going to go in. It's going to be, you see what I'm saying? So businesses close for all kinds of reasons. Let me just say that. It's not, black and white. Entrepreneurship can 100% work, but I do think that it's time that we get serious about what is really required. I think it's time that we get serious about where the funding is going to come from, because if not, then people are going to be left susceptible to beliefs that is going to come easy. And so what people are going to do is take easy routes, right, which lead them down the path of destruction, all right, which lead them into the hands of predatory men, right, which leads them into very unhealthy situations, right? Contracts and all that ultimately end up, again, exploiting and harming the very people that they claim to service or identify with. So we got to be mindful of this. That's all I'm saying. It's not impossible to go into entrepreneurship, but I do think we talk about Black excellence. I think you talk about people who are fully equipped, people who have done the work, people who are, you know what I mean? Like we got degrees, we got business degrees, we, you know what I mean? We got community health degrees, community organizational degrees. Like we get into the business, right? I think we got way too many talking heads today. I think we have way too many people who just want a platform, people who just want to succeed and just, like that whole era of like earn your leisure, right? And you just got a lot of people who are sitting around who aren't really doing anything, but are listening a lot and getting moments of motivation and momentum, but it's not anything sustainable, right? It's not actually something that's going to build a life. It's not something that's going to generate income or really translate into a long lasting and sustainable business, right? And so we got to do better. We got to do better. We got to start getting our lives together, right? And like I said, I think that this is really due to the culture of immaturity, right? We stay too long in this infantile state pursuing dreams, right? And you understand what I'm saying when I say dreams. Dreams are not a bad thing, but it's just a dream without a plan. I mean, come on, right? Don't let me be the one who's quote unquote the dream killer, because I'm not here to kill a dream. I'm here to plant the dream, right? Is that even your dream to even be pursuing and to plant and to nurture and to nourish? Because if it was, surely you could get a plan in place, right? But for so many of us, we're doing things we see other people doing them, right? And it's not taking care of our kids. It's not taking care of us. It's not taking care of our family. You know what I mean? You shouldn't have to be out here charging 10 times a service when 5 other businesses down the street or this entire industry in and of itself is not charging that price for the service. I don't care. The relationship between business is business to consumer. It's not black to black. No, you're not going to have me out here. No, that ain't cool, man. That ain't cool at all. And so the businesses are failing and they're not delivering on their promise. It's not because they're bad, right? I don't think that, business owners are trying to exploit Black labor. And I don't think that's what it is. It's that they don't know any better. Just like with Uncle Ernest. Right? Absolutely no. And she ought to be ashamed of herself. If I'm going to say that because, and I'm not going to come down on her. Let me just chill. Not too much. We don't know who's listening, right? We don't know who's watching, but she ought, because I really want to say the truth, but I can't seem to understand why Fawn Weaver would go so many years without making sure that everything was secured in place. Right? I don't even know how long that business had been up and running, but I'm pretty sure it had been quite some time. Right? I want to say at least 10, but I could be wrong. Right? I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that. I don't have the numbers directly, but that was a business that had been in practice for a very long time. Really good business, right? One, when I say good, I mean like marketing wise, right? Uncle Ernest was, I think he owned the land. He might've been a slave on the land, and, they got these wells for the whiskey and, just a very beautiful story. Right? And I think it could have sold out at the golf clubs, but I also think being that it's a whiskey brand, that's not giving everybody gonna get a Rolls Royce. we all not about to be showing up to the board meeting in Rolls Royce. All right. Hello now. Like, that's just not what this business is going to give. Right. And I think that's one of the things that we just don't really sit and consider when we talk about business and entrepreneurship. People think automatically, hey, if I'm going to be an entrepreneur, I'm about to get to the money. And that's not true. It depends on your industry. It depends on if there is a need for this. Most businesses run out within 5 years because Nobody needs this anymore, right? Nobody needs this sweatshirt. Nobody's checking for that anymore. So get in while you can, make as much money as you can, and get out. And it's clean, right? Everything is paid, everything is balanced, and you were able to take something off the top. That's most businesses. Most people are not running a service bit level business with the state, with the government, you know what I mean? To where there is this sort of like federal contract, right? You're overseeing things, you're in healthcare. Like most people are not doing that. Right. We're not supplying medical supplies. You know what I mean? There's no patents here. Right. So you got to know that this is not going to go on forever and ever. So when you think about success and you think about American success and the American dream, and understand that, first differentiate between the American dream and your dream. Differentiate between what God has given you to do and what has he called you to do and favored and anointed you to do, and what it is that America said you should do because of the way you look or what kind of skills you have or what you think you might be good at. You know what I mean? And get real about what it really takes to make money in this country, because it's not this, you're going to start something and you're just going to make millions of dollars. No. If you even generate $100,000 off of anything, you either scamming. That's how you're able to afford that penthouse, because you're scamming people. You ain't giving no type of quality of service. That means you're overpriced on your services. If you have that low of an overhead with your own expenses, right? Your business expenses and your lifestyle expenses, that you're able to afford a freaking $5,000, $10,000, $12,000 a month penthouse or whatever you're showing us online, right? So that lets me know you're a scammer. You're not a good business person, right? Especially when you talk about only thing you're selling is marketing plans on how to make money on social media. You're definitely a scammer, right? We can really narrow down the niches of the common businesses, right? Because the people really aren't getting too creative here. All right. So it lets me know you're a scammer. The second thing, if you're able to generate that amount of money, you're just not. So like I said, if you're generating that amount of money and you can really take home half of that or the vast majority of that, you're scamming people. Period. So this is not about not believing that you can be successful, right? This is not about believing that you can get off your dead end job. That's not believing that. Do you know that our ancestors worked for years? They worked for years. I'm talking about even after slavery ended, they still had to work and build everything they had and work twice as hard, working jobs, making no money. We out here trying to organize for the labor unions. You know what I mean? Still putting in work. You know what I mean? So it takes a very long time to really build anything. All right. And that's the thing that we're wanting to shortcut today. And you cannot take a shortcut. If you take a shortcut, you will get cut short. Okay. And your only person who's going to lose here is you. If you put all that energy into really figuring out how can I create a business that is sustainable, that is long lasting, that is going to generate the type of lifestyle that I want comfortably, reasonably. Do you guys know that companies like Rolls-Royce and even certain like Mercedes-Benz, you got the Maybach, all of these very, very like expensive cars and homes and houses. Do you not know that was not created with the working class in mind, right? That was not created with thousandaires or millionaires in mind. Do you know that stuff was created for those who are at the top of the food chain? Been there for generations, long lasting. Do you know that stuff was created for them to enjoy because they have so much disposable income, right? You can sit here and talk about how, we can sit here and go on and on about, exploitation, capitalism. We can talk about it, sure. But at the end of the day, that's their playground, right? Certain material comforts were their playground. And so with that being said, when you start talking about numbers, you're talking about a $500,000 car like a Mercedes Brabus. That was never created with you in mind. You were never intended to have that, right? And it's not because you're not worthy. It's because you don't have that kind of money. You understand what I'm saying? Like, and I don't know why you gotta get real about certain stuff. That's like half your take. That's like, what are we talking about? $500,000 car. What are we even talking about? Even if you're an athlete and they give you a $20 million contract for the next 4 years, you don't even have it. Not really. Maybe a used one. By the time you talk about taxes, you got to pay this and you got to pay that. You got to pay for this. You got to pay for that. And you got to make sure you got your lawyer fees and all these other things. You probably got a financial accountant who's taking a nice chunk of change, right? To keep your loyalty. You know what I mean? To keep your loyalty. You're taking care of your family. You're taking care of everybody from the hood who don't want to work. All right. Because they too trying to get it easily, trying to get it quickly. They don't want to work. They want to get rich quick too. They trying to ride your wave. All them concussions you done out there took for the field. They trying to live off your back and you carrying them. You don't have that kind of money. In the next 4 years, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Where are you going to go work in what? Kohl's? I mean, what is your game plan here? How are you going to afford this mortgage that's every bit of $75,000 a month, $150 a month, $250 a month? What are we talking about? You don't have that kind of money. You don't have that kind of money. You're talking about gas, expenses. Then you got a chef. Then you got trainers. Then you need new shoes, new clothes. You want jewelry. You got children. You married a white woman. You know what I mean? What are we talking about? You don't have that kind of money. You can't afford it. And so we have to understand that affordability is not the equivalent to what you're worth. I think we may get that from slavery. You know, in slavery, it was, you're worth 2 nickels. All right. You and your babies. And let me not laugh about that because that's very pitiful and it's very sad, right? But like, seriously, because I think there's a reason why we do that. Why me telling you cannot afford a Mercedes Brabus. It was not created with you in mind. You're never probably going to have a Rolls Royce. Why that upsets you at this big grown age. We got to start having conversations about the immaturity that runs rampant in our culture and most importantly within our society. You should be an adult and we should be able to speak real about finances. You know what I mean? We should be able to speak real about that. And even if you could afford it, which you can't, because you're talking about a lot of money that has to be made. How are you going to make $500,000? How are you even going to make that? Even if you make it, do you want to take all of your money and give it to Mercedes? They're going to treat you like crap. They know you can't afford it. Because you probably went about getting it in a way that they know you probably can't afford it anyway, right? You want the one on the back. You want the one from last couple years ago. Let me stop. Like we doing too much. Let me stop. But no, seriously. So, at the end of the day, y'all, I'm all about numbers. I'm all about like, okay, how is this making sense? How is this feasible? You know what I mean? And for many things, it's just not. And that doesn't mean you can't have a nice life. You're going to have your own aspirations. I'm not here to give you aspirations. I'm not here to tell you what you should and shouldn't strive for. But what I am saying is that everybody being on a road to $1 million, which is not a lot of money. Like I said, that's you spend that $1 million on your car, your fortune is gone. Right. But, everybody being on the road to 1 million is costing us everything. Right. It's costing us community. It's costing us, relationships. Right. We're not settling down. And I don't want to say settle down. We're not engaging in adult behaviors and raising families and taking care of our children. This ain't about no Republican, Democrat. No, this is just about like getting older. You're 37, 36. What are you about to do? What are you going to do? What is life? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know why we think we have our whole lives to get it together, y'all. Life is a very simple, it could be a very beautiful thing, or it could be a very hard thing, right? Much of life is, let me say this. I think for every person who is not rich and for the working class, we can't see that we have community, right? We can't see that some people, they have so much money, that's all they have is money. And they spend all their days protecting the money, right? Kids out here eating alone, eating with the black nanny in 2026, eating with the Hispanic nanny in 2026. You see what I'm saying? Like we're so busy and we're so covetous after other people and their wealth that we don't even see that we're rich. We have neighbors, we have friends, we have family that love us, people that we can sit in community with and organize and talk and laugh and share our gifts and share our talent. Like we're just not getting it. We're not getting it. And we're moving further and further away from getting it. we all down here at the bottom. We hating each other. What we hate each other for? For what? What did I do to you? I'm not charging you $600 for a haircut. What did I do to you? You know what I mean? So I don't know, y'all. But I just wanted to come on today and say, I think it's time to break up the myth of get rich quick. And I talked about this before. I don't even know what I'm going to title this, but it's time to break up the myth that entrepreneurship is a token to Black excellence, because it's not. There are entrepreneurs who have nice things, so to speak, right? They may have a cute little Toyota, cute little dog, cute little house with their family, but they are by no means rich, right? They may have more than you, or maybe they know how to make it look better than how you make it look, right? Maybe they got some good designers. We don't know, right? But my point is, people were just striving for things that just weren't realistic. And that doesn't mean don't try, but it certainly doesn't mean do not spend your entire life push, shove, right? Like Tupac said, like don't spend your whole life stepping over people, right? Walking away from people that love you, in pursuit of something that was never guaranteed. God never promised us riches. That's nowhere in the Bible. You know what I mean? Now he says money meets every need. Now relax, right? I'm not someone who's like, oh, I'm not religious in that sense, right? Money meets every need. That's in the Bible. Yes. Right. But we also understand like the conversation at hand. I don't even think I have to keep going on and on about it, but I do think it's time that we really reckon with the reality, right? And I think it's time that we really wake up, because it's costing us too much, right? We're not going to be satisfied until we're all, living on many islands in our apartments, and life hasn't moved one bit because we never built anything, right? We never built anything. We have a sense of senselessness. We don't have any purpose, right? We don't have anything to look forward to, because all we were focused on was ourselves and getting rich and feeding our desires that was never ours to begin with. Peace.